Okay, let's dive into one of the most incredible ancient cities on Earth, a place that's way more mysterious than you could ever imagine. We're talking about Teotihuacan, the city of the gods. It's this massive, sprawling metropolis that just blossomed for centuries right in the heart of Mexico. And then, well, it left behind a giant pile of monumental riddles. And just to give you an idea of the scale we're talking about here, around 1,500 years ago, this city was one of the biggest in the entire world. It stretched out over 20 square kilometers. And its population? Well, archaeologists think it could have been as high as 200,000 people. I mean, this wasn't just some town. It was a true global superpower of its day. And here's where things get really interesting. For all its size and power, we don't even know its original name. Teotihuacan is what the Aztecs called it, centuries after it was abandoned. We're not sure who the people were, what language they spoke, or why this absolutely magnificent city just ended. So even after more than 100 years of digging, these basic questions turned Teotihuacan into one of history's greatest detective stories.
So let's tackle the first big mystery. Who was actually in charge here? I mean, a city this huge, this meticulously planned, it had to have powerful leaders, right? But, finding them has been shockingly difficult.
So you've got these two big competing ideas. For years, everybody just assumed there was a single, all-powerful king. A pharaoh-like figure who ordered the building of these gigantic pyramids. But then, this compelling alternative theory comes along from archaeologist Linda Manzanilla, and she suggests something way more unusual for the ancient world: a shared government, a council of 4 co-rulers. And here's the real kicker, the thing that drives archaeologists nuts. The biggest problem for that single king theory is what isn't there. Unlike the Maya or the Egyptians, with their huge monuments to specific kings and their fancy royal tombs, Teotihuacan has given us nothing. No statues of rulers, no obvious royal palaces, and most importantly, no kingly burials. It's just this giant, empty space at the very top of the power structure. Okay, so forget who ruled for a second. There's an even more basic question. With a city of up to 200,000 people, you have a massive logistical problem. How on earth did they feed everybody?
Think about this number. According to archaeologist Sergio Gomez, the city needed at least 100 tons of corn, or maíz, every single day. That is a staggering amount of food that had to be grown or found and brought into the city day in and day out without fail.
And this leads us to two totally opposite pictures.
For a long time, the idea was that Teotihuacan was a self-sufficient agricultural powerhouse. They supposedly used these brilliant floating gardens called chinampas to feed themselves. But more recent evidence suggests that wasn't the case at all, leading to this radical new idea. What if the state chose not to farm? What if instead it built its entire economy on importing nearly all its food through massive trade caravans?
So if they're relying on trade for food, that naturally leads to the next question. How did that trade system actually work? See, the city's power wasn't just about its size. It was about its connections. Instead of being a brutal, conquering empire like, say, the Romans, Teotihuacan's power seems to have been way more subtle. Linda Manzanilla calls it the octopus state. Think of it like this. The city is the central head, and its influence stretches out across the land like tentacles. But these tentacles weren't armies. They were corridors of trade and alliance, each one likely managed by a different neighborhood or barrio inside the city. And the evidence for this is just staggering. Teotihuacan wasn't just a city. It was this incredible cosmopolitan melting pot. Archaeologists have found distinct neighborhoods that were basically enclaves for people from hundreds of kilometers away. People from Maya lands, from Oaxaca, from the Gulf Coast. And the hard proof? Isotope analysis on skeletons confirms it. People from all over Mesoamerica packed up and moved here to live, work, and trade, making it one of the ancient world's most diverse and vibrant places. But like all great empires, this one couldn't last forever. Around the year 650 AD, after centuries of just total dominance, Teotihuacan met this fiery, mysterious end. So what happened? You see, the clues don't really point to an outside attack. The destruction was surgical. The fires and the violence were specifically targeted at the homes of the rich and the city's main temples, while a lot of the regular neighborhoods were left alone. This suggests the city didn't fall to invaders, but collapsed from the inside. Maybe it was a violent uprising against the ruling class, maybe fueled by drought or other disasters. Its end is just as puzzling as its beginning. And for centuries, that's kind of where the story ended. This majestic city lost to time. But then a completely accidental discovery back in 2003, well, it rewrote everything we thought we knew.
You have to picture it. After a week of really heavy rain, archaeologist Sergio Gomez is out walking around, and he notices a sinkhole has opened up right at the base of the Temple of the Feathered Serpent. So he lowers himself down for a look and finds himself staring into a man-made tunnel that had been sealed shut for almost 1,800 years. What he found kicked off this decade-long journey into a symbolic underworld. I mean, they couldn't just rush in. They sent in remote-controlled robots to explore the darkness, painstakingly mapping the whole thing with 3D scanners. And what they eventually brought out was this unbelievable treasure trove. Over 100,000 artifacts, a sacred time capsule left behind by the city's founders. And inside, it was a complete recreation of their entire universe. The ceiling was dusted with pyrite, so it glittered like a night sky. There were pools of actual liquid mercury, meant to represent the sacred lakes of the underworld. They even found a miniature mountain landscape. And at the very end of the tunnel, 4 huge statues just staring up, marking the exact spot that connects the underworld, the earth, and the heavens. And that's the thing about Teotihuacan. It's not some dead ruin. It's a live investigation. This tunnel proves that the city's biggest secrets might still be buried down there, just waiting for the next rainstorm or the next lucky break. It's a puzzle that just gets more complex and more fascinating with every single piece we uncover. A reminder that sometimes history's greatest stories are the ones that are still being written.